Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology update for April 17th through 24th, 2023. Well, we have been feeling a very intense Sun Jupiter conjunction that is just coming off. This whole last week has been an internal implosion, explosion in our lives of our truth and where we're living our truth, where we're not living our truth, all being extracted out of us. Supernova souls having a lot of internal pressure as we face how far our life is away from what we really need it to be to come into our full potential. This is the shift of energy. We've had this massive activation of Aries energy, but now the sun will be moving over into Taurus. We're still going to have Chiron and Jupiter representing in the Aries energy, but it will be a shift of energy when the sun moves over into Taurus on the 21st. But not before this, but before that, we have this very powerful Aries solar eclipse happening in the 20th in most of the world, the Western US, on the 19th. So this eclipse is happening at 29 degrees, 50 minutes of Aries. So 10 minutes away from the end of the sign. A very powerful energy of a culmination. It's our second new moon in Aries speaking to us about this time. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's a rebirth. It's a resurgence. It's about grabbing a hold of what really matters in life again. Energy, vibration, life force. And so this being the second of the eclipses is saying, the second new moon in Aries is saying this is indeed a time of rebirth. On the other hand, this second new moon, of course, is happening at the very, very end of the sign, which is like a completion energy just before Jupiter leaves the sign of Aries and moves over into Taurus next month. So the other thing is that this eclipse is the first eclipse that happens in the new nodal signs. In July, the nodes will switch signs, moving from North Node Taurus, South Node Scorpio to North Node Aries, South Node Libra. They move backwards. So, a big shift of energy. They've been in Taurus and Scorpio since January 2022. About a year, a little over a year and a half is how long they stay in a sign, and you'll feel the effect of these eclipses. So, even though they haven't switched signs yet, the North Node is at and South Node are at 4 degrees right now for this eclipse season, but they're getting very close. Now, when the nodes come to the end or the beginning of the sign, which is the end of their time, there's a very powerful bloom of the energy, kind of like, did you get the message? And so we're having this, and it goes right along with a Mercury retrograde starting. And so we got Mercury retrograde and eclipse season together. It's a very strange energy. And so, being this Aries at the end of the sign of Aries, the second new moon in Aries, but also the first of the next cycle of eclipses. So, is this the completion of the ending or the ending of the beginning? We don't know. The beginning of the end or the end of the beginning. So, this is where we are because we've got Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius, and we can feel this about 2023. We're just like teetering on the edge of a new reality. We can feel in deep inside the inevitable changes that must come as the house of cards of our reality in our life and the systems of our world are just dismantling. And we're being dismantled as well. And this is a lot of the energy we're feeling as we come up into this eclipse. Because the day after the eclipse, the sun moves over into Taurus. And so the sun in Taurus will be at 0 degrees in exact square to Pluto at 0 degrees. So again, we're coming up to the nodal shift. We have Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius, and this very powerful square that's happening. So the sun here moving into Taurus in square to Pluto is triggering and bringing forward the very epic and powerful Pluto square the nodes that we will be feeling for the next 5, 6 months and peaking out in July and August. But the moon squaring Pluto here now, and this is, I mean, the sun and the moon. This is a new moon, so the sun and the moon will be squaring Pluto. But the sun square Pluto is very much triggering the Pluto square the nodes and kind of a foreshadowing energy. Bringing forward what is this feeling of the inevitable change that's coming. And so it's bringing eclipse season is always weird. It's like an out of time feeling. But this one in particular, because we're dancing on the edge of nothing and everything. And indeed, it feels like that with Saturn in Pisces. And we've been feeling for the last couple of days and still feeling today and tomorrow for the first part of this week. Venus in Gemini has been in square to Saturn. And this is very powerful because Venus in Gemini is about the voice of the feminine. And we know that she's the whole reason we got here is because that voice has been suppressed. And she's in square to Saturn in Pisces, and Pisces has the energy of the Piscean age of the persecutions that happen in the name of spirituality, in the name of oneness, in the name of what was holy. Um, and so she's frustrated because her voice has been stolen, and the frustration is around this patterns, the same patterns coming up that we're all dealing with it, right? It's not just it's a feminine in all of us, so that vulnerable side, that naive side, that side that gives everything away all the time, the side that can't stand up for herself, whatever it is, the story that's going on. And she's feeling it. It's kind of like going up against the authority. And yet, Saturn in Pisces is a questionable authority, because it's all based on delusion. The authority, the spiritual authority of the Piscean age, of course, didn't really have any true authority. It was all manipulation and distortion. And so it's powerful because Venus is coming into her light with her retrograde in Leo, and she's preparing for this massive initiation. And she's coming up against all these old patterns from the Piscean age and a lot of grief around it, a lot of grief around where we've gotten so far off our path. And yet we still have Saturn in trine to the South Node. So this is very powerful because Saturn is exactly trine the South Node from the 14th to the 25th of April. And this is very helpful energy of the waters washing over the grand water or the water trine where it's the grand water trine is over, but we've still got this part of the water trine. And Saturn South Node is beautiful energy of clearing away the past hurts and pains and just letting it wash all away. And that goes just perfectly with our upcoming Sun square Pluto ego death, which we're already starting to feel. As of tomorrow, the 18th, we're moving into this energy. So we've got the eclipse, we've got the sun square Pluto, and um, very powerful, like I said, precursor to the upcoming months ahead energy as that sun squares Pluto and Pluto is squaring those nodes. The sun doesn't come up to the north node until the 25th, a couple of days after this eclipse. And that will be quite a powerful moment of that perhaps we could have, even though we don't exactly know where we're going, because we're all rearranging because of retrograde, but there's a new course being charted. And that course is this incredible activation we've had of Aries and this washing away and dissolving and breaking down of the false parts of ourselves. Really, the Sun square Pluto could be looked at as an opportunity to break contracts with our lower self, with our false self, with our ego, with our all the parts that aren't really us, and where we've allowed the energies of other people and relationships and loyalties to um, keep us in that energy of that lower self. When we really want to be pursuing and living and breathing our higher truth. And it's coming, it's brewing inside. The fire has been brewing with this Aries activation over the last couple of months, but now we rest. We dream, we go into this eclipse season, we ground out, Mercury in Taurus, very powerful, taking a retrograde coming up here also on the 21st, the same day that the sun moves into Taurus. The sun exact square Pluto, right on the day that Mercury in Taurus at 15 degrees starts heading retrograde, just after this eclipse. Now it's really powerful, as we have this Taurus activation in this time, because we have that Aries activation. It's brewing this fire within. And now we have a course direction. We don't know exactly what it means, but we can feel an alignment in our heart and our soul with our fire in our belly that's been reawakened. And so the Taurus energy is about resting and receiving and grounding out, but also it's about our self worth, our feeling of whether or not we deserve this activation. A lot of self care is required for our bodies to assimilate to all these changes right now. So make sure to take really good care of yourself through this Taurus season. We've got a stellium of energies in Taurus and a huge activation because Taurus is the body. It's physical. It's our physical body, and it's our relationship to form. So it's all caught up in how our permission or worthiness to have what we need and feel comfortable. Now, this is what we've been told is a huge energy we've got to resolve in order to move into the abundance that is ours. In the natural law of the universe, when you break ties with control based energies and take back your sovereignty, all that's stolen has been stolen from you must come. And so we're in this massive time of reckoning and reconciliation with our worlds and our realities, our past lives, our truth of who we are. That's why it's so powerful to come together and do this intuitive work together. And so I hope you'll consider joining a supernova eclipse, solar eclipse soul group session. This will be happening on Wednesday, April 19th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And that's $20. And it's deeper than the activation and go into past life, shared past life pictures, giving an opportunity for contractual clearing, clarity, healing, soul retrieval, connecting with your soul group. And so and powerful moment in time for us to show up and do this work together. And that will be exactly 12 hours from the actual eclipse. So we'll be able to set in some energy. So I hope you'll consider joining that to be a part of that. We're also going to do a new moon activation on Tuesday, a Aries new moon activation Tuesday, April 18th. So this eclipses are about, the eclipses happen when the sun and the moon line up with the nodes of the moon. And this is the big energy that we're feeling with Pluto coming in square with the nodes, this eclipse. So the eclipses happen when everything lines up. So eclipses have an energy of things being hidden and revealed. Also, there's an energy of timelines and alignment, like a reorienting. Eclipses often feel like out of time. And there's an energy of like, again, being in that primordial soup, especially with that Saturn trying the North Node, the waters, and being in the energy of the waters in the co creation and being present in the moment of feeling into energies as you move through this experience, being as much as possible in that primordial waters of all possibility. So that is a good place to be. And of course, then with Sun square Pluto, we're getting that ego breakdown to kind of bring us to that humility place of perhaps finding that treasure, peace and calm that's available. This is a powerful energy for supernova souls. We have gone through the ringer over lifetimes, but now it's starting to pay off. This is this Taurus energy. It's like, are you ready? Do you deserve? Are you good enough to receive your own abundance? Fully take and own your own power, not let it leak out. We've been like paying the piper, trying to make up for something subconsciously, this codependent way of giving ourselves away all the time. And here we're told that we're here for service and we're the servers, but it's gotten us into all kinds of trouble. So this Aries energy has been really important for supernova souls because it's about containing our energy and being self-serving, a little bit balance things out. Because really, if we're not going to hold and contain and honor what creation has offered us through this experience, then how can we be trusted to take it to the next level? And so it's a difficult thing because as we go and take our energy back and contain ourselves, we're faced with places, deep griefs of the feelings of leaving people behind, the pain we've been feeling. There's a lot of loops of grief happening with this Saturn in Pisces. It's like time is repeating, and you might find yourself, it's almost like, "Oh, we got really knocked off our timeline back then. We're going to go back and that might be a time of maybe the last couple of years or the last 3 4 years. In this lifetime it could be past life, yet then you're also visiting a time loop in a past life that has a similar energy, and we're kind of going back and getting pieces of ourselves. That's really good energy for the solar eclipse session. It means there's definitely energy for soul retrieval, pulling back all the parts of ourselves that are stuck in different time dimensional frequencies. So, um, this is such a powerful time and a strange time, but also a time to release all that we thought with the Sun square Pluto, challenging our lower self, everything we thought the way it was going to be and should be, and coming back to these core values, this vibrational resonance of what really matters. This is all about vibration. We know that. So we're getting a quite a vibrational upgrade from all that Aries energy, and now Mercury is in Taurus, and very interesting. Mercury is coming up to 15 degrees Taurus, and then when Mer, uh, Mercury turns retrograde there on the 21st at 15 degrees, the same day Sun square Pluto, and but at 15 degrees, Uranus is at 17 degrees Taurus. So they're coming up to a conjunction, but not quite. Still 2 degrees apart. And they'll be 2 degrees apart from the 18th to the 23rd. So right through this whole eclipse energy. And it's very powerful activation. Uranus is like the higher mind, Mercury, the lower mind, our conceptual reality, the way we think and feel about things, our judgments and processes and belief systems. And then Uranus is like our higher vibrational access to our ancient wisdom, our future technology, and our true higher self, that higher voice within us. And we've been so blocked from this with all that we've been going through in this time of reckoning. So it's powerful. And Uranus also has a higher frequency vibration. It's like, ooh, it's like electric. So it's like higher frequencies coming to the mind, but then they're in Taurus, which is about infusing the body with higher frequencies, the earth. This is an Kundalini, that vibrational, higher frequency activation of the earth and our bodies. But it's interesting because they'll get 2 degrees and it's like, oh, whoa, whoa, maybe not. And then Mercury in Taurus retrograde back to 5 degrees. So it's saying, are you really ready to receive that? Can you handle it? Are you good enough? Like, did you clear your shame? Your fear programming over your own power? All this. So it's very powerful. Mercury turns retrograde on that 21st, and then Mercury will turn direct on May 15th. And that, um, I'm sorry, yes, is that May 15th? And then After the retrograde, Mercury comes out of retrograde shadow on June 1st and then won't catch back up to Uranus until June 5th at 20 degrees. So that's a really powerful energy moving into June and a connection. And so, can you sit out this retrograde? Can you be in the primordial waters? Can you let it all break down? Can you just expose the shame and clear the grief and move the energies and be present and ready in preparation? And so that when that true clarity and that vibrational grade comes through, you're totally ready to fully receive. So this retrograde is an opportunity to ground out Mercury and Taurus and to assimilate these activating changes and get ready for the next chapter because everything's pointing to new chapters. So that's the energy of the sun coming up to the North Node on the 25th and an alignment in our direction. So this whole retrograde is about, oh, what am I doing? Wait, I went this way, wrong way. Oh, I've done all this and try to figure out what in the heck over the last few years. It seems like supernova souls. But the fire in your belly is creating a magnetism that's unstoppable. And it's going to bring to you the clarity now that we're breaking through. As much as things seem really sticky and weird right now, there is a certainty, a fortitude growing within the supernova soul of knowing that nothing can hold you back. And so now we point that in the right direction. And we got to make sure that it's in alignment with our higher self instead of the fear programming and the lower loyalties and all of the stuff. So incredibly powerful. Now, this Mercury turning retrograde just a couple days after the eclipse, and uh, Mercury had that it connected with the nodes at the beginning of moving into the season, and then and then comes up almost to Uranus, and then we'll go back almost to the nodes. Mercury goes to 5 degrees. The nodes will be at 4 degrees, so won't quite make it back to the nodes, and then going back and meeting up with Uranus. But in between or through that time, there's also 3 squares with Black Moon Lilith, with Mercury, and also um, 3 sextiles with Mars. And so this is really interesting. And it's going to tell us what this Mercury retrograde a little bit more about what this is about. So in square to Black Moon Lilith, the first one happened on the 11th of April. And we felt that up to a few days ago. And we're already feeling the second one, which will happen on the 30th of April. And so it's kind of like one before eclipse season, one after eclipse season. And this is Mercury in Taurus around restructuring our mental beliefs and ideas around our self-worth. In square two, Black Moon Lilith, the deepest, darkest secrets of the feminine, typically, or that kind of side of ourselves, our hidden side. In Leo, the sign of expression of our light. And so we're looking again at our self worth for expression of our true self, of our intuitive self, bringing that into the light again. And I have to say, our intuitive side, for those of us sensitive souls, has been beaten down and like gone through so much, being so sensitive in such a intense world, such a nice person and trying to do karmically what feels good all the time for everybody. And then, with all of these people who don't have that connection and it's just very painful. And this is a lot of the grief type energy that's been coming up in the last few days with Venus square Saturn. So now we're moving into the next square, which is that Sun square Pluto. But and Mercury in kind of in between, but it's starting to come into that second Mercury square Black Moon Lilith at 12 degrees. So, but Mercury is also making a sextile with Mars, and this is really sweet because Mars is in Cancer. And it's our warrior self, it's our masculine side. And Mercury here in Taurus, in a feminine sign in the earth, representing embodiment and This is a very sweet energy. They had their first sextile already on the 8th of April at 6 degrees, and that was when Mercury was still direct. And now Mercury and Saturn coming up at 15 degrees on the 24th, 25th. So we're starting to feel this right now. So we've got the tension square with uh, Mercury, Black Moon, Lilith, and the dark trying to come to the light, and the dark bringing up all the shame and all of this, ugh, you know. But then we've got Mercury sextile Mars, who's in Cancer. He's connected to the mother. He's fighting for the mother. The warrior understands the importance and is going to push ahead with this brave new world that is based on the love of the mother, bringing us back to what really matters. This is our only way forward. How can we rebirth our world without a connection to our mother, without a mother? Mother Earth is our ascent is going through ascension. It's her ascension, and we get to go with her, be a counterpart, and hold her hand. She's holding our hand. She's leading the way. And so that's really interesting because a lot of this with the Mercury Uranus conjunction is because even though they only make it to 2 degrees together, but it's so Mercury is going so slow. So it's a very long, drawn out activation, but not quite all the way, you know. And but it's definitely activating higher frequency vibration on the earth and in our bodies, as well as clarity about who we really are in our higher self, who we've been in past lives, who we really are. I've seen again and again in past life stories for supernova souls that most often you've lived very spiritual lives compared to this one. We're it's just not socially acceptable to live the way we really want to live. And they want us to think that we're the only ones. That's been the whole point. And that's so cool because we've in the supernova group, we've broken through that barrier. So powerful work we can do together in that soul group session, looking at these past lives. The Akashic records are being revealed. This Mercury Uranus has that energy of like being able to see through the veil because these memories are your memories. And it's your right. It's your divine right as a manifest particle of creation or wave. um, so we are preparing for this incredible shift that's ahead. And the stars, the planets are speaking to us exactly what needs to be done. And so it's powerful to have all of this Taurus energy as well as Mars in Cancer in that sweet sextile. The third and final sextile between Mercury and Mars won't happen until they move over into the next signs. Mercury in Gemini and Mars in Leo. That's how long it'll take Mercury after this retrograde to catch back up to Mars. That will be in June. So that is Mercury, Gemini, Mars, Leo in both masculine planets in masculine signs. Now we've got masculine planets and feminine signs. So it's really calling forth our voice and our light to be expressed again in the world in our wholeness. Masculine and feminine, but we can't do it without her. And she got buried. So we're unearthing all of the hidden shadows and darkness that have been keeping us a lot of the stuff that's coming up for supernova souls, because I know it's frustrating. You've done so much work and so much clearing and so much contract breaking and all this stuff. It's like, oh my God, it's never over. But the stuff that's coming up now is deeply hidden in the subconscious. And yet that Saturn square, uh, Saturn trine the South Node is supporting us in being in the dark and clearing it. Now, a lot of what's coming up is surprising for supernova souls because there's some energy around doing the time for other people's crimes. And this is a lot of what we find in the deepest, darkest depths of our psyche, of the darkness. We're feeling regret. We're feeling like where we got off our path. We're feeling self-disgust, self-hatred, self-judgment. This is a really huge energy right now because Pluto will be going back to 28, 29, 29, 28 degrees Capricorn, bringing us this judgment. This is part of the reckoning. It's interesting because we know that we're facing a time of judgment, of where it's like we can't be kind of this and that, a little of this, a little of that. We have to firmly be on one side or the other as far as with ascension or not, you know. Um, and so here we are at the edge, and the energy of what's clearing, trying to clear with Saturn in Pisces, is the Pisces. So in the energy, so and especially with this Venus square Saturn that's just completing over these next couple of days. This is Saturn, Venus's grief over where she lost her voice, where she got off her path, out the persecution and the patterns of the programming that of persecution that happened in the Piscean age that silenced the intuitive voice. Now, that was done through the energy of judgment and condemnation. And that Pluto at the end degrees Capricorn has that, and also Saturn in Pisces has that. We're kind of sorting out these energies. On the one, on a lot of what supernova souls are going through right now is coming through judgment, self judgment, and w- you know a lot in our world. What we're dealing with is so much division and judgment of the other person. We can find this subtly within ourselves, where we're like, immediately, it's been our protective mechanism. This is how humanity is trying to protect themselves through this chaos right now, is just immediately identify and be like, oh, that's an enemy or bad or whatever. And as supernova souls, we've had to do this too. We've had to like try to grow this energy of discernment, but then we end up getting in the same energy of judgment. This was the same condemnation energy that persecuted us in the first place. And yet we need a reckoning too, right? Like, we can't just allow the evil atrocities to continue in our precious world earth. We know we know it can't go on. And so we're all having a reckoning within ourselves. And it's also like, as we clear our deepest karmic stuff, the minute you can see the other person's side of the story, this is what karma is about. You play out the other side of the story, right? So you have self-reflection, and that's the power of an advanced soul. And you stop creating karma once you become self-aware. And yet we've gotten so manipulated, and we were so naive, and we got all messed up in so much karma. And we ended up like in a situation, say, where you weren't directly responsible. It wasn't your will, but somehow you were manipulated into being a part of, or feeling that you had some sort of role or cause in something that happened that was bad in a past life. And then you've never forgiven your soul for this. This is kind of where we're at right now, because this is how we're paying the time for other people's crimes. We've been, from the very beginning in the supernova story, I got this message that the day that supernova souls drop the karma that they carry for nefarious forces that have been all about like deliberately causing harm and death to humanity, the minute that we drop those stories that it's our fault, which must go back to Atlantean time, um, when that was when the original infiltration began, and the Atlantean catastrophes, maybe that's kind of where this all roots back to, where, yes, we brought higher technology to the earth simply because of who we are. It was in our bodies. That technology was then misused by a very small amount of, who knows if they're even humans, to cause destruction. Then the aim of the destruction was to frame you and make you think it was your fault. So you took all the blame, and you could never go anywhere near your power again in this evolution. And now it's like, wait a minute, we're waking up to this. It's our power. We've already had it. We've already used it. Give it the back right now. Oh, so it's a really intense time, as all this is brewing inside of us. But we're finding this, on the one hand, forgiving ourselves, forgiving those that have played out intense stuff for us. A lot of time, a lot of souls, supernova souls are feeling this. I guess it's part of this reckoning, right? Where it's like, whoa, all of a sudden you're on the other side of the story of a story that, you know, this is this overcoming judgment, the great judgment. Because really, all judgment that we go, oh, that person, da, 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 and we so easily do that. And we need to protect ourselves. But all judgment is self judgment because we're one. And so if we're judging ourselves, then we can't be in that oneness that we know is the truth of this experience. Because we're a part of God consciousness of creation. And we want it's about stepping into our role as co-creators. But if we're embroiled in shame, we're never going to be able to pass through that threshold. So we're dropping these old stories and going to the nitty gritty and realizing that it's about coming to love on some level what you hate the most, you know, um, in order to bridge these karmic gaps, to heal and bring in the compassion and the love to fill in all these holes in our soul, put ourselves back together, you know, every lifetime from where we somehow got involved and had to go against our nature and have never been able to reconcile. And now this is all reconciling, and that's the only way we're going to tip in to the new reality. So here we are, we're poised at the edge. This is a very powerful time with eclipse season and Mercury retrograde at the same time. It's a journey into everything that's keeping us from receiving back this higher intuitive power and stepping into the world we know is possible. But let the waters wash away all of those stories and the pain, and let the emotions come and cry the tears. Take care of yourself. This is a really, really is a rebirth. This really is you landing home, becoming whole and complete. And yet we have to be very delicate with new infants, and make sure they have everything they need. And this is maybe the core energy of like, this is what's going to be required for you to step into who you are. You're going to have to take care of yourself and love yourself, not hate yourself and judge yourself. No, that's the lower self. You can't judge your God self. Stop it. It's keeping us in those lower paradigms. And Pluto Sun's like breaking all down. It's uncomfortable and it's excruciating and it's so beautiful at the same time. And know that as we go through this awakening process in our own wilderness moment, we're forging pathways back together to because the only thing is receiving in the law of the universe, when you break those contracts with the authorities, you get back your energy, you get back what was stolen. And the only way forward is this reckoning and this reconciliation. It's about the dark things being called out and brought into the light, and it's about the light receiving its bounty, all the work and all the power that over all these lifetimes these advanced souls have done. It's coming back to you. It's coming back to us. And so we're preparing that place for this to land. This is a big message of the Supernova Soul Tribe from the beginning as well, around that we're only partially incarnated for multiple reasons, perhaps past life traumas, perhaps ancestral trauma and your relationship with your karmic relationship with your parents. The energies on the earth when we were born could not host our full self, and now they're changing to be able to host us, and we're literally changing our bodies to be able to host our actual body. We think this is our body. That's not. I mean, it is, but it's like our actual body is invisible. And what we're doing is we're bringing that body into merging, in this great merging into this earth tantra, this connection with the earth, our body, the temple, awakening the ancient temples of Lemuria. By it's almost like what we experienced there was actually about helping us now be able to embody these higher frequency vibrations and build the temple in our own field that can hold our body, our Christ light body. So there's lots of work to be done, but it's a very exciting time. And I'm so glad that we're here together. Thank you, Supernova Souls, for going through all you've gone through, being here together. I hope you'll consider coming to this soul group session for this deep intuitive work together on Wednesday, April 19th, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And then the new moon activation on the 18th, Tuesday the 18th, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Information to sign up for those is in the information box below. And thank you so much for your support, for watching the videos, bringing your energy to the field, making your offering. We're here together on all these different levels, but also thank you for the offerings. If you're interested to be a part of the Soul Tribe, at $10 a month gets you a weekly update video and also a monthly Q&A, and the replays are up of those last monthly Q&As. So you can catch those and resources for Supernova Souls, all that plus entry to the activations. The gold membership is $20 a month. If you don't want to miss an activation, that one's for you. Get into the activations and live sharing circles exclusive for gold members after. So thank you so much for being here and being a part of this energy. And I hope you feel us in our coming together, in our awakening. We're all going through it. Like I was saying before, they want us to think we're the only ones, so that we don't express the spiritual truth. This is really, is a hands-on healing that threatening? Is singing a happy song really going to disrupt natural medicine? So we are claiming back our, and we have prepared for lifetimes for this moment. So keep that in mind as you're going through your journey in these very strange times. It's all about rebirth. And so I look forward to seeing you soon at those events or the next update. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.